Hey y'all, it's Amber, and today we're making tomato soup and a grilled cheese sandwich. To start this soup, it's a good first step always to start with butter. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to melt a stick of butter, half a stick of butter, over medium heat. And once that gets melted, I'm going to throw in an onion. My onion, I like to use sweet onions. And this one was a small onion, but if you have a large onion or a medium onion, just use half of it. Or if you really like onions, then use the whole thing. It's really up to you and your preference. So our butter is melted. I'm going to throw in this onion. And while that onion is cooking, I'm going to put in salt and pepper. And I'm just going to stir that around. We're going to cook these onions until they're translucent. Our onions are cooking, so I'm going to add in garlic. I've minced up about 3 cloves of garlic. My cloves were pretty big. If you don't like the taste of garlic, obviously you can do less, but I do. And you don't really have to worry about how finely you mince in this recipe because you're going to use an immersion blender and blend everything so it's a smooth soup. So you don't have to be too precise with your chopping. So I'm going to add in that garlic. And you don't want to overcook garlic because then it kind of gets a bitter flavor. So I just cook this until I start to really smell it and it gets really fragrant, which isn't long, like less than a minute. And then I'm going to add in 1/4 cup of flour. This is all-purpose flour. And you're going to add this in to thicken everything once the soup comes together. I'm going to add that in and stir it around. And you do it at this stage so that you cook the flour, so that you don't taste it later on, but that it still serves the purpose of thickening the soup. Alright, so next we're going to add in our liquid. I'm using vegetable stock. You can use chicken, whatever your preference is. And I'm using 32 ounces. And I'm going to stir as I add it in so nothing clumps and it stays pretty smooth. I usually always have vegetable or chicken stock or both. So whatever I have when I'm cooking tomato soup is what I use. I think either is fine. So that is all in. Now we're going to add 2 28-ounce cans of whole tomatoes. Your juice and all is going right in. And again, we're using an immersion blender, so you don't have to worry about these whole tomatoes right now. Just when you pour them in, duck for cover if it splashes out because it is hot. Actually, I'm gonna save myself. So you're putting 2 cans in, juice and all. Stir that around. And now I'm going to add basil. I have about 1/2 cup. I'm going to save a little for later. So really, I probably add in about 1/3 of a cup. Okay, our soup is coming up to a boil. So at this point, you lower the heat so that it just simmers. Cover it and let it simmer for about 20 minutes. Okay, our soup has simmered for about 20 minutes. It has reduced a little bit, and you're still going to have your tomatoes and everything whole in here. So then you use your immersion blender, and if you don't have one of these, I strongly recommend it if you like to do soups and things that are pureed, because this is so much easier. You don't have to transfer this, especially with it being hot. All you have to do is hook up your blender and use it in the pot that it's already in. So I'm just going to go in and completely puree this. I don't like to have any chunks in this, but if you like a chunkier, heartier soup, then you can leave a few pieces in there. But I'm going to go in and puree the whole thing. Just make sure that your blender is all the way in. You don't want to leave it partially out because you're going to get splattered, and that will not be pretty. I know, I feel like a construction worker. At this point, you could eat the soup as it is. Probably just taste it for salt and pepper. But I'm going to add in heavy cream and Parmesan cheese, which makes it just extra luscious and creamy and delicious. So I'm going to turn my heat back on low or medium low and pour in a cup of heavy cream. Alright, our cream is in, and so now I'm going to go in with 2 cups of Parmesan cheese. I grated this myself. I just think that it melts better, and it's a little fresher when you buy the block of cheese and grate it yourself. Obviously you don't have to do that, or if you're short on time you don't have to do that. And once your cheese is melted and everything is fully combined, I would taste for salt and pepper, make sure it tastes like you want it, and then you're ready to go. Now it's time for the grilled cheese sandwich, which I think is the perfect partner for tomato soup. So I'm going to start by turning my heat on medium. Actually, I'm going to do medium low because these can burn very easily. So I have softened butter from when I did the soup. So I'm just going to butter, that's a lot of butter, one side of 2 pieces of, I use wheat bread. That's just, I am a wheat bread person. If you don't like wheat bread, use whatever you have. But I'm going to butter one side, and this side is going to go face down into our pan. So now that my pan is warm, I'm going to go ahead and put both pieces in. And then I'm going to start adding in our cheese. So I'm using sharp cheddar, which I like. It's one of my favorite cheeses. I think I've said that. It's just one that you can kind of use with everything. And then for one of these sandwiches, I'm going to put in some sliced turkey. Brantley usually asks for meat in his sandwich. If I'm going to feed this to Bear, I'd like for him to have a little meat in his. So in one of these, I'm going to put in some sliced turkey. And then on both of them, I'm also going to use Munster cheese. This one is just really creamy. I'm going to say it, but I think I say it with every cheese. It's one of my favorites too. So I guess I like all cheese. And then I'm going to sprinkle in some garlic powder with parsley. And this just gives it a little extra kick and a little extra flavor. You can also use seasoning salt. I've used that before and it's really good too. So just sprinkle that in over your cheese. And at this point, I'm going to cover it so that my cheeses start to melt before it's time to flip. Let that get steamy in there. And while that's going, I'm going to butter one side of my other piece of bread. Alright, my cheese is starting to melt, so I'm going to take the lid off. I'm going to add my other piece of bread, the butter side up, so that when you flip it, the butter's down. I'm going to let it steam a little bit longer just so my cheese gets nice and melty. Let's check to see what the bottoms of these look like. I like them to be crispy but not too burnt. That one looks pretty good. Love that sizzle. So I'm going to put the lid back on and let it keep cooking. So our grilled cheese is browned on both sides. Again, this is a preference thing. If you like it more brown or less brown, it's up to you. So since it is brown and crispy on both sides, I'm going to pull it off and we're ready to eat. Yum. So our taste tester today is my mom, Barrett calls her Lily, and she travels with us usually when we're on the road with Brantley, and she lives just right down the road, so Barrett sees her a pretty good bit, thankfully. So she's gonna taste our soup and grilled cheese for us today.
I'm excited. I love tomato soup. I think I'm just gonna
Blow it off. Don't burn yourself.
Is it hot? That is so good. I might have some more.
Hey, Beepa. What's it doing?
He's like, I am confused.
Where's Barrett? Where's Barrett? Boom. Where's Mommy?
Where is he?
Boom.